All right, let's talk about something we all kind of take for granted, until it breaks. I'm talking about the machine that makes your house feel like a home, your HVAC system. It's that silent workhorse, keeping you comfortable all year round. And by the end of this, you're going to know exactly how to keep it happy.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with that awful moment when it all goes wrong. Then we'll look at the hidden stresses that are always working against your system. We'll learn how to decode its warning signs, figure out what a real professional repair looks like, and then tackle the big one. Should you repair, replace, or just maintain?
Okay, let's set the scene. It's a moment every single homeowner just dreads, that heart-stopping feeling when the comfort you rely on just vanishes.
And yeah, we're not just talking about being a little uncomfortable here. This is a full-on crisis. When your home's most essential system fails at the worst possible time, it can be a genuinely dangerous situation. And in that moment, knowing what to do next, well, that makes all the difference.
So, the real question is, why do these things always seem to break at the absolute worst moment? Well, it often comes down to a combination of these hidden stresses that are constantly pushing your system to the brink. Let's dig into what they are.
First up, you've got extreme weather. This is probably your system's #1 enemy. Think about it. A blistering summer heat wave that has your AC running 24/7, or a bone-chilling winter cold snap that forces your furnace to work overtime. These massive temperature swings are just a brutal test of endurance year after year after year.
Now here's one you probably haven't even thought about: the actual ground your house is sitting on. Especially in places with lots of clay in the soil, the ground can swell and shrink with the seasons. That tiny movement is powerful enough to literally pull your ductwork connections apart, creating leaks that just bleed money and comfort. And then, of course, there's the big one: age. Let's be real. If your house was built back in the 80s or even earlier, you might be dealing with a system that's way past its expiration date. It's basically a ticking time bomb of inefficiency just waiting to fail. Okay, so the good news is your HVAC system rarely just dies without any warning. It usually sends out these little distress signals first, kind of like an SOS. And if you know what to look for, you can catch a problem before it turns into a catastrophe.
You got to think of this list as your system's way of talking to you. Is the AC blowing lukewarm air? Are you hearing weird clanking or squealing noises? Did your energy bill just go through the roof for no reason? Don't just ignore these things. It's your system telling you something's wrong, and catching it early can save you a ton of cash and a major headache.
Now this one is a big deal: an ignition failure. This is when your furnace just won't start. It could be something simple like a dirty sensor, but it could also be something as dangerous as a cracked heat exchanger. And you can bet it's going to happen on the single coldest night of the entire year.
Okay, if you ever walk by your outdoor AC unit and see ice on it, especially in the summer, that is a massive red flag. It means air isn't flowing correctly, and a lot of times, the culprit is just a filthy, clogged air filter. But it could also mean you have a refrigerant leak, and just ignoring that is like having a slow leak in your tire and just adding more air every day. You're not fixing the real problem, and eventually it's going to leave you stranded.
Okay, so you've spotted a problem, you've made the call. What happens next? Knowing what a good professional service call should look like is super important. It helps you pick the right company and make sure you're not getting taken for a ride.
Look, a pro service call should feel totally transparent, right? First, they give you a clear arrival window. No, we'll be there between 8 and 5 nonsense. Then, the technician figures out the real problem and gives you a written estimate before they do any work. No surprises. Finally, after the repair, they test the whole system to make sure everything is working perfectly and, most importantly, safely.
And now we get to the million-dollar question, or at least the several $1,000 question. When your system breaks down, do you repair it or is it time to replace it? This is a tough one, so let's break down how to make the smartest call for your home and your budget.
So here's a really good rule of thumb to help you decide. Repairing makes sense if your system is still pretty new and the fix is something minor and cheap. It gets you back up and running fast. But if your system is getting old and the repair cost is more than half the price of a brand new one, well, then you're probably better off putting that money toward a replacement. It's a long-term investment.
And a huge part of this decision is just knowing how old your system is. Everything has a lifespan, right? A well-maintained furnace can last about 15, maybe 20 years. Air conditioners, usually a bit less, around 12 to 15 years. If your system is getting close to that age, sinking a bunch of money into a major repair might just be throwing good money after bad.
And this is where replacing an old clunker really starts to make financial sense. We're talking about energy efficiency, measured by something called a SEER rating. All you need to know is the higher the number, the less electricity it uses.
Just look at that chart. Swapping an old 10-SEER unit for a modern 16-SEER model, you're using almost 40% less electricity. That's huge. Those savings on your bill every single month really add up. But honestly, the best strategy, the absolute best thing you can do, is to avoid that emergency call in the first place. And that all comes down to prevention. Getting your system checked out once a year is the most important thing you can do. It keeps it running longer, it prevents most of those sudden breakdowns, and it saves you so much money in the long run. It's an investment that pays for itself, easily.
So let's wrap this up with a simple question for you to think about. Is the single most important system in your home getting the attention it actually deserves? Because when it comes to your HVAC, a little knowledge and a little bit of care goes a long, long way to keeping you comfortable, safe, and saving you money for years to come.